welcome. My name is Beck and you're watching Beck's Crafty Nook. Today we have a pattern review and I'm very excited. It's for a crochet pattern for a Labubu. So the crochet Labubus are called Crobubus, and I got that name from the first person that I saw this idea that you could crochet a Labubu. So the Labubus were so popular that people started crocheting them because they couldn't buy them in the store. Now, I will have to say, I did first see the Labubu on TikTok, like the first mention of it was on TikTok. I'll see if I can find the creator. I watched a couple, it's a Nigerian couple, and I don't know, I would just say the other guys, the boyfriend's white. So the girl is Nigerian, the boy is white. And I started watching them because they would do videos where she would like throw a thong and hit a cup off him blindfolded. And anyway, I subscribed to them, and then one day she was like, "Oh, can I have your credit card?" And he's like, "What for?" And she's like, "A Labubu, I need a Labubu, I need to buy a Labubu." And he was like, "Oh my god, they're so expensive, what is this thing?" And that's when I sort of found out that they were a trend and they were really expensive. Now, some of them are like not that expensive. They range from $20 all the way up to $300 with a price that's usually about $60. But, so that was the very first inkling about Labubu trend. And then as I was browsing YouTube, I came across the YouTube channel. I'll just pull it up. I've just got my iPad on my lap. So the YouTube channel called Shaiyeh. And so there hadn't been any patterns out for the Labubus. And I think she was one of the first to make a YouTube video where she made her own pattern and she made her own Labubu. And she called it a Crobubu. So that's the picture of her channel. And I'll leave the link, of course. I'll link everything that I talk about. And then this is the particular video I'm talking about. It says crocheting a Labubu and her wardrobe because they're all sold out. So she made the Labubu and it turned out really cute. And she said that she was going to work on a pattern. As far as I know, she's still working on the pattern. I saw just recently she had a video up crocheting live. The Labubu video must have done well because she's making a lot more content on that. She's made content on other stuff, but I saw that she did a live where she was crocheting Labubus, and lots of people are interested in a pattern. So I kept my little beady eyes out, and then I'm pretty sure either on Instagram or Pinterest I came across the pattern that we're going to talk about today. So this pattern I found on one of those and then followed some links, and then I went to Etsy. I like to buy my patterns on Etsy because they're just always in the one spot. I bought a couple of patterns from people's websites, and Etsy does charge a lot of fees, which is annoying. But when you buy from websites, if you lose your printed out pattern, it's very hard to remember like who was the creator and how to get to the website. And I bought something on Ko-Fi, and because I was signed in as a guest, then I wasn't able to re-download it. So I have to be very careful and keep my printed pattern. But you can sign in on Ko-Fi. I don't know why I didn't when I purchased it. So Etsy is great for me. Okay, so the pattern we're talking about today is, it's from Plushie Co Patterns. Here's the picture of the listing. And there is a few patterns out now, but I chose this listing because I thought it looked the nicest. And it did not disappoint. So I got it for half price, which was $6.60 Australian. It is normally $13. I would pay full price as well. I think it's worth it. We're going to get into that. So there's no gallery on the pattern, which I always bitch about, but there is on her listing, she has done 5 different examples, which I think is enough to give you inspiration on what you would like to do. So let's put up a little gallery of all the photos. So I don't believe there's any testers. I have a feeling it was tested, but I haven't seen tester photos on her Instagram. But the pattern's only been out for maybe a week, and I bought it maybe 3 days after it was released. So there are a lot of reviews on Etsy now, so let's put a little gallery of the Etsy Crobubus up, and then let's talk about the one that I made and what I think about the pattern. So let's talk about the pattern. So this is the front page of the pattern, and she's got two examples here, one with the sleepy eye embroidery and one with the normal embroidery. We've also got two different colorways, so that can give you a little bit of ideas, but all the pattern is done on this green one. In the front page you've got everything that you need to know. Now this, obviously a Labubu is copyright, but she has called it a Labubu here, but on the Etsy listing it says Smiling Bunny or something like that. I did forget to mention that the lore of the Labubu, like what is a Labubu. So let's quickly pause and let's have a look at that, because now that you can see what it looks like, it's a little bit inspired by Where the Wild Things Are, or Where the Wild Things Grow. That's a book that a lot of us had in our childhood. And then I'm just going to read to you like what a Labubu is. So a Labubu is a small elfish character and part of a larger group of monsters called the Monsters. And there's all different colorways in that you can get in the normal Labubus, like different color series. They're created by Hong Kong designer Kei Sing Lung. They are known for their quirky appearance, featuring pointy ears, the sharp teeth, and a mischievous grin. Labubu, despite her sometimes mischievous look, is actually kind-hearted and has good intentions. So Labubu is a girl, and they have a little leader who is a boy, and the boy leader, Labubu, he's called something else, has a tail. So these are the little girl Labubu monsters with the big teethy grins that look like Where the Wild Things Are or Where the Wild Things Grow. We'll put the proper picture up of the book. So they're creepy cute. Okay, so the front page we have the picture. It's in US terminology, my favorite terminology, all the stuff you need, which is all the usual. And she recommends bulky plush yarn with 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. Now, I'll tell you what I used. I am in Australia, so I have this yarn. So we have a whole collections of yarn, which is this, and it comes from our big box store for yarn and craft, which is called Spotlight. So that's similar to your Joann's, Michael's, or that sort of thing. Yeah, so this is our acrylic yarn. It is 8-ply, and they have a color called Almond, which I think is a really nice skin tone. We also have some other nice browns and other skin tones that you can get. We also have another range of acrylic yarn you can get in our cheap shops or dollar store, which is called knitting yarn. And it has a lot of nice skin tones as well. So I used acrylic 8-ply for the face and hands, where it's like the lighter color, because it's difficult for us to get plush yarn, and the plush yarn we have does not really come in a lighter skin tone. We do have like some of these darker tones. Probably this might be the closest. And so this is our thicker yarn, but as you can see, if you are from America, it's quite thin. So I used, in the Labubu that you're going to see, I used this kind of weight. This is Nippers, but the pink that I used is actually from Kmart, but it's this weight of yarn. And I would say this is still like an 8-ply. But what I did was I used this with a 5mm crochet hook, and I double stranded this to make it a little thicker, because as you can see, the plush yarn is quite a bit thicker than the 8-ply, and that seemed to work out well. Everything fit together, everything looks nice. So that's that. And I used the 8-ply black yarn and an 8-ply white yarn for the embroidery. So let's talk about the pattern itself. Now, I did have a little trouble with the instructions. It starts off with, so there's 15 pages, there's lots of beautiful large pictures, and I really like that it does go in order, so you can just go page by page and you will make all the body parts in order. It is, I would say, low sew, like it didn't feel like, oh my god, I'm sewing so much stuff together. But you do sew things together. I don't think it's a big deal. You could probably, no, you probably couldn't make it no sew. But I think it's worth it to make a nice product. And I think you would just need to charge a little bit more. I would say it took about 3 hours. It probably takes like 1 hour to make the head, the hood, the arms, the ears. And then maybe another hour to do the 2 feet and the body. So 2 to, and then maybe like another half hour to sew it all together. So 2.5 to 3 hours. So it's not really all that market friendly, but it may be if people are willing to pay a fair bit of money for them. Considering that the real Labubus are like $60, I'm not sure, 60 Australian, I'm not sure that people would want to pay 60 for a Crobubu, but we don't know. We haven't tried it yet. They are hot off the press, and this pattern is hot off the press. So it has you make the 2 arms first, and I didn't want to do that because I felt like that was boring. So after that, you make the ears. So I started on the ears, and the pattern was easy to read, easy to do, well written. If you just read it, you're able to do it. It has 4 very large pictures of the ear, and then 3 or 4 very large pictures of sewing the ear together. Now, I did modify the pattern here, so I'll tell you my modification. So this is the ear as they have you sew it. So you kind of do here, you go back and forth, and then you're supposed to single crochet it together. But it gave me this ridge, and then when you fold it in half, I felt like I couldn't see enough of the background color. So what I did was round, let me tell you, rounds, it stops at round 4 on the ears. I did round 5 and I single crocheted 11. And then instead of single crocheting together, I whip stitched. So I whip stitched it, and then I put that as my long thread, and then I tucked all these in. So after I finish talking about the pattern, you're going to see like me making this one. And then so I had it stuffed, and then I had a long tail to sew it on. So you need to sew the 2 ears. So you make 2 arms, the 2 ears, and they're really quick. So it probably is good that it starts off that way. Now, there are actually videos as well. So there's no video for that, but there is a lot of pictures. Now, after that, we make the inside part of the head. So let me go get my body parts bag, which sounds really gross, but you'll see. Okay, so the next part we make is the head. Now it's made this way around, and you finish here and you stuff it. I had a lot of trouble reading this pattern, the written pattern, because it had increases here and increases here, but you start with increase, go all the way around, do your increases here, and you finish a couple of increases there. And I just could not get it through my head what I was supposed to do over here, and I kept getting that wrong. But she has 2 other ways to explain the pattern. So written down, I didn't quite get it, but it is correct. For some reason, my brain wasn't registering it properly, and I think I kind of like speed read, and so then my brain like skips over bits, and I can't, even when I slowed it down, I couldn't get it. So she has a QR code to her video, but she also has a chart. Can't show you the chart because it would give it away, but what I love about the chart, it's not a traditional, you know, the traditional charts that look like this where they've got like each stitch is a symbol. You don't need that because they're all single crochet. So she did it with dots and then lines, like if it was an increase, then the lines led to the previous stitch. And for each round she used a separate color. And then I was just off and flying because like looking at something visually was just really quick for me. And if you don't get the chart, then there's a video. So I think that's fantastic. So we did the head. Now, when you put the head on, so I'll show you my Labubu now. This is the one I made. So when you put your, you'll make the head and next you'll make this hood part. So let's get the hood part out. Okay, so here is our hood and you insert the head into the hood. The hood is very similar to the head and it's on the same page or like half on the same page. So sometimes I would get mixed up and I was looking at the head pattern instead of the hood pattern. Now, you are supposed to put the head in this way and then you can crochet your smile along this line. But with mine, I decided it might be neater if I put it this way. So that's why I've done the body parts to show you. And I'm not sure. I think the smile is still smooth. I'm not sure. But yeah, you can do it either way. I did it that way because I thought it would just look neater than seeing this part here because it's like a spiral. So anyway, you insert that into the hood, which is super easy. Ta-da! Now, this yarn is thinner than the Baby Bella. I got this from Temu. And so I double stranded this. It's very slightly bigger so you can see the head fits in a little easier, like the forehead's back a bit. I probably could have put another round on, but I think it'll be fine anyway. And it's a similar size to my first Labubu. So we've done the ears, we've done the arms, we've done the hood. There's also lots of pictures for the head. There is also a chart for the hood. Then we also have a QR code so you can watch a video for an invisible fasten off because you're going to be able to see this part here. I fastened off as usual with a knot and then I just thread it back through and then I sew it all around. But there is a video. There is also very detailed instructions on how to line up the face inside the hood if you did it the way that you're supposed to, the other orientation, how many stitches you should have up the top, how many stitches you should have down the bottom, how many you should have to the side. And I think that's so good because sometimes you're left in the dark about your embroidery. I have another pattern that I will be reviewing that has happened and there's a lot of guesswork. So this is very detailed. She tells you all about it. Then you crochet 2 legs and then the body joins onto that. Now, there is also, these are your little feet. And because they have little toes and you've got to do front loops, back loops, there is a QR code that you can watch a video on how to mark this and how to sew it. So you do your 2 legs and then you'll make your body. So that's all the pieces, but there's QR codes for everything. That's the only difficult bit and she's given you a video to do it. The written instructions are pretty easy as well anyway. Let me just move that back. There is also very good pictures. Oftentimes with patterns, there will be pictures and the picture's always missing the difficult bit. So she has given very clear pictures of the difficult part and a video, which is very good. I'm guessing that as the videos are unlisted, I'm not quite sure. Then there is step-by-step photos of, because I've made another pattern where you made 2 legs and then I didn't know how to join them. So she had very clear instructions on how to join them, and then you're left with a tail, and then she has a very clear photo of how you sew together. Oh, the hole is here. There's a little hole left, and she has detailed instructions. Here we go. I've got a thread here to sew it. I put the thread inside. You use this thread and you sew that together. She's got photos, like, and they're really big too. Let me show you how big these photos are. They're huge. So photos are fantastic. The writing itself is very big as well. Then she has a whole page on assembly, like how to put your amigurumi sticks in, exactly where, what stitch it should line up with, which is amazing. Then we have 4 extremely large pictures. It takes up most of the page to show you where to place the arms and how to sew those on. Then you sew on the ears, so everything is in order of how you should sew it on as well. 4 really large photos of how to sew on the ears. Next, she has a template for the eyeballs. So what I did with my Labubu is I used my Cricut. I took a photo of the template off the digital pattern, and then I just measured how big that was, which was just over 1 inch. And so I lined that up on my Cricut. And so I cut out the white, and then I cut out glitter vinyl, and you're supposed to do this little hole as a separate piece, but I just cut it out. So white's the background, and you could do this in black, and I just cut that piece out with the Cricut. So we got a really neat, beautiful circle. She shows you exactly where to sew on your nose, where to place the eyes, close up, really large photos of how to do the eyelids. She doesn't mention blush, but I'm pretty sure the real Labubu dolls have blush, so I put some on. And then she even shows you all the placement of how you sew on your white teeth. Now, I've seen a couple of TikToks of people like blinging up their Labubus, and they will put like a similar color to the body tooth on. So I did that, and she turned out really cute. So everything you need is in this pattern, and I love that there's so many photos. There might not be a million photos of like inspiration, but there is a heap of inspiration on the listing. Yeah, she's got really detailed photos of where you place the felt eyes exactly, and all the like individual stitches where you sew everything on. So if you place your head in the wrong orientation, like what I did, that's going to be a little more difficult, but as you see, it still worked out. But if you do it in the orientation you're supposed to, you will see stitch for stitch she has on photos marked that out, like put dots on everything, and all the dots are different colors, so you can't get confused as to what's the mouth, what's the teeth, where everything is supposed to go. So the template for the eyes fits. The template for the embroidery is amazing, and there's also a QR code for embroidering the teeth, so there's another video. So this pattern comes with videos and lots of photos and the charts, so you can't get too confused. There is also, I will show you this page so you can kind of see what the embroidery photos look like. There's even embroidery for the sleepy eyes. So you can see how she puts the dots on. They're huge. And then there's your finished product. So this pattern is amazing. I love it. I think they turn out really well. I would recommend, if you have a Cricut, using your Cricut to cut out your felt and your and then yeah, this is iron-on glitter. So cute. And then yes, I just use blush and a little round brush. And yeah, I think the only complaint I have is that I could have brought this hood forward a little bit, but the ears stick straight up. You don't have to stuff them. You don't stuff the arms, you only stuff the body and this headpiece, which made it really easy too. So I think if you're working in a production line, it'll get pretty easy. They don't stand by themselves, but they're super cute. It's a cute little size. I always compare it to my head. But yeah, it's cute to hold. I think he's just adorable, creepy cute. It's so funny too, like all of the TikToks where women are showing men their Labubus. The men are always like, ah! And so I had this sitting on my desk and my partner came in because I was like, oh, look what I made before I'd put the face on. I was like, look how cute it is. And he was like, yeah, whatever. And then I had it sitting on my desk because I've had it made for a couple of days. I'm going to be giving this one to my daughter, Lucy. And yeah, he saw its face and he was like, ugh, what is that? And that seems to be the reaction from lots of men, but lots of women think they're really cute. So I'm going to be doing a video where I marker prep some of these. I've already made the body parts for the purple one, of course, because we're going to make that for Charlie. So that's going to be pretty cute. And I think with purple vinyl, we might be able to see the face a little bit better and a purple nose. Like this is all a little blendy and it's hard to see the teeth because this is so light. And then I'm also working on, I've made all the body parts for a rainbow one. So with this one, I've used a velvet yarn that you would hold double, and I've held it with an acrylic yarn. This is my favorite rainbow yarn. And we've got this cute little effect. So it's still fuzzy, but then we've got the cute color. And here's his little body. Look at that. And they're all coming out around the same size, which I think is cute. Look at their little feeties. They're just so cute. Here's his ears. So yeah, they may take a couple of hours to make, but they are super fun. There we go. And see, with that extra round, we get quite, I feel like it's a better look where you can see the middle, the skin color, and then the outside. And then you can see here it's quite a bit flatter if you just whip stitch it together. And then we have the long tail with all the rest stuffed inside. So I would highly recommend this pattern. I think it would do well online, Etsy stores, at markets. I think you could bump the price up a bit because they are a trending product. But do be careful because it is a licensed product. It does look like an actual Labubu, but I would call them Crobubus, or they're calling them smiling bunnies. So, you know, if you can get away with it, do see how you go. But yeah, do remember it is a licensed product, so you're not really supposed to. But yeah, I would highly recommend. It's so cute. So I'm going to roll some footage of me making this Labubu. And then I'm going to see you guys again soon for more pattern reviews that I have ready to go. And we're going to do a market prep where we make a heap of different colors. And in this video, you'll see how I did the eyes. But of course, when we do the market prep, we're going to do all the eyes together. So that will be lots of fun. I hope you enjoyed watching the video today, and I'll see you guys again soon. So we are starting this Labubu off with our almond colored acrylic and our 5mm hook. We've got our pattern. This is our pink velvet yarn from Kmart. And we're going to start with the ears. First, we start with our velvet. We add our double-stranded acrylic. And then we'll finish off with the pink velvet. I tie all my ends together. And then we pop all those inside and leave the long end from when we whip stitch the ear together. And we'll use that long end to sew the ears onto our Crobubu. So here's our 2 ears finished, super cute and fluffy. The pink on my hand is just some food colouring. Let's start now on putting our head to our body using our amigurumi sticks. As you can see in the pictures, it shows you exactly where you need to put the body and the head to sew it together. And I just took my time to get it all lined up and nice before I started sewing. I'm just using a whip stitch to sew around and making sure that I'm making like a little bit of a neck, and also leaving that little front part of the hood out as per the photo instructions. This didn't take long at all and it was super easy. I almost feel like I'm putting like an Among Us together. And I added just a little bit more stuffing. I made the stuffing pretty firm in the face part and in the body. But because the body's so open, you just need to put your last bit of stuffing in a little bit later. Then I made sure I went around to make sure he had a neck and weave in all my ends. Next I'm going to put the arms on using my Ami sticks and the written instructions that show you exactly where you need to put them. This took all of like a minute to do. As you can see, sewing is not super intensive on this project. So cute. Next we're going to put the ears on following the placement, and then it's time to make my eyeballs with the Cricut. So I just cut out a 3" by 3" square after I had cut my felt. It wasn't cutting originally because I had that towel down ready to iron. And so I just placed the silhouette down and put the eyes in between just to make it easy to put my heat transfer vinyl on top. Then something weird happened with this heat transfer vinyl. I swear it is heat transfer, but when I ironed it, it puffed up, and I don't think it's supposed to puff, and I was so confused. I don't think it's normal vinyl, it's definitely heat transfer, but look what happened. Looks like little brains. It's all puffy. So that was no good, and it took me ages just to get the file ready in the first place, but now I have the file, I'll be able to use it over and over. So yeah, that was the original vinyl there. So I thought I'm just going to test. I'd actually turned off the iron to see if it would work with it a little bit cooler. So that was too cool and it didn't stick at all, and then when it started sticking, it started to puff. So really strange. I put those aside. I've written on it that it's a bit of a dud. And I went and checked my drawer and I did have more vinyl. So I went and got that out and I cut it all out again. But I did just cut a small piece off and check before I went and cut it actually. So that was that there. Was weird. Alright, so now we're back with the new vinyl cut out. So I just have to cut like a 2" square for the irises, and then I cut a 3" square for my white felt. I like to cut this way so that we can save the other pieces and use them again. It just keeps everything neat and tidy, and I cut straight onto my cutting mats. So let's do this again. We put the white in the stencil, and then I weeded out my glitter vinyl, and I just cut these in half so that they won't be overlapping onto the white. I line them up, and as you can see, it cuts that really tiny small hole out. Put my greaseproof paper on, and I gave it a really good iron and no issues. Mine was a little bit hot, but still it did puff up like before. That was so weird. So peel off the protective clear backing. here's my eyeballs. Just checking that it's all fused down. So yeah, I don't know what happened with the other one. So now it's time to sew my Labubu face on according to the beautiful pictures in the pattern. I use these tiny little pins to pin on the eyes first. And I went in the order of what the pattern told me to do, which was the eyes first. Once that was even, we moved on. I sewed on a cute little nose in between the eyes, leaving just the tiniest little gap. And I used the same plush yarn as I had for the body. Then I tied that off and put the ends back into the head. Ended up moving the knot to the middle and it made like a cute little point. I then used my tiny pins to mark the smile as according to the picture. As I said, I used a different orientation, so the pins really helped to make me feel like I was going to get that nice curve. And then I started to sew it in with, what would you call that, chain stitch? With my black 8-ply acrylic yarn. I feel like I got an okay curve even with the different orientation. I think you might get a better curve if you actually follow the instructions on the pattern. After the mouth was all sewn on, I just checked that the eyes were even. I wove in the tails of the mouth later, and yeah, I just moved them up just ever so slightly and apart to make it all even and nice with the nose. Next was the teeth. I popped in the teeth with acrylic yarn, and I should have double stranded it, so I put the teeth on and then I went back over it with the white to make it a little thicker. I have seen people do this pattern with felt teeth, and then just to glue the eyes down I used nail glue. I felt like it wasn't working, but really I just needed to hold it down longer and let it set overnight because they are really glued on now, really stiff. The glue also stiffens your felt for you. And here is our final beautiful glamour shots of the pink Crobubu. Enjoy! Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like what you see. And check out these other videos.